At dinner, Jade pointed at the far end of the table and said, "Sit somewhere else." I smiled, slid my chair next to the family lawyer, and waited for the folder to open. I'm Marcus Hale, 45, handyman of a very nice house I apparently married into. Somewhere between our wedding day and last Tuesday, I went from husband to furniture, useful, quiet, easy to ignore. My wife Clara is polite when there's an audience. Her sister Jade? She treats me like a lawn ornament with opposable thumbs. I stay for 2 reasons with gap-toothed smiles. Ryan, 13, who thinks my worst jokes are secretly great, and Laya, 10, who believes my box mix pancakes are Michelin star level. They're the only people in this house who look for me in a room. Jade, meanwhile, glides through our place like a duchess doing inspections. "This is Clara's family home, Marcus," she'll say, lips barely curled. "You just married into it." She critiques my laundry folds, my grilling, even my mowing speed, once telling me her dead grandma could cut the grass faster. It's Olympic-level belittling delivered in a monotone. I used to argue. Now I collect moments, because death by 1,000 digs makes you numb, and then something snaps you awake. Mine was a Tuesday. I was fixing a squeaky cabinet when I heard Jade in the dining room, voice low and pleased. "Once Marcus signs off, everything goes under Clara's name. The house, the savings, secured." He's too clueless to notice. The screwdriver almost hit the floor. I wanted to storm in. Instead, I walked past her, waved, and took my panic where it belongs, into the garage. Under the fluorescent hum, next to the mower I keep alive with spite, I looked at the framed photo of Clara's dad, Jonathan, hard hat under his arm, proud builder. I told the picture, "I won't let them bulldoze what you built." The next morning, I booked a quiet meeting with the family lawyer, Mr. Donovan Pierce, silver hair, voice like a gavel. I unloaded everything I'd heard. He listened, steepled his fingers, and finally smiled. "Marcus," he said, sliding a folder across, "your father-in-law was smart. He put the house into an irrevocable trust. You're the primary beneficiary with Clara, co-beneficiary. Nothing can be transferred without your informed consent given here with me after I explain it. In short, no one is moving anything without you." He flipped to another document. "And given the current temperature, we should set up an educational trust for Ryan and Laya, administered solely by you." We did. We locked it tight. I walked out of that office feeling like the background character who just found the script's twist. For the first time in months, I slept. Then came the dinner. Clara and Jade staged it like the Met Gala, embossed place cards, an army of candles, a centerpiece I wasn't allowed to breathe on. They invited the entire family tree plus Mr. Pierce. I cleaned, hauled, polished, and kept my mouth shut. When it was time to sit, I found my name card between my kids, small mercy. Ryan waved me over. Laya bounced. I was 10 feet from normal when Jade swooped. "Actually, Marcus," she said, that little smile like a paper cut. "Sit down there. This is for important discussion." The room froze. Clara looked anywhere but at me. My kids looked confused. I wanted to flip the table. Instead, I breathed. "Of course," I said lightly, and took the empty chair beside Mr. Pierce. "I've always enjoyed his company more than yours anyway." A few chuckles cracked the silence. Mr. Pierce leaned toward me and murmured, "Smart move." Dinner was excellent. Roast beef like a painting. Potatoes that were 50% butter, 100% comfort. But every bite felt like a countdown. Jade kept cutting glances at the folder by Mr. Pierce's elbow, the way a cat watches a bird feeder. Finally, she cleared her throat. "Mr. Pierce, can we go over the documents now?" she asked, tapping the table as if summoning a butler. Clara chimed in, too bright. "Yes, let's get clarity." Mr. Pierce set down his fork, dabbed his mouth, and stood. Conversations died. Even Uncle Barry stopped talking mid-story, historic. "First," the lawyer said, voice steady, "regarding ownership of this property. Per the irrevocable trust established by the late Jonathan Hale, ownership remains with Mr. Marcus Hale. It cannot be transferred or modified without his informed consent given in my office." Jade's jaw actually dropped. "That's not," she sputtered. "That's not what you told me." Mr. Pierce raised an eyebrow. "Miss Jade, I told you nothing of the sort. The documents are crystal clear." Clara went pale. I leaned in and smiled, not cruel, just satisfied. "Cheer up, Jade. You still own absolutely nothing." Uncle Barry choked on his wine. Cousin Marcy's phone hovered discreetly, not discreetly. Ryan shook with suppressed laughter. Laya whispered awed, "Grandma Jade is mad," which got me a scandalized look and 3 muffled snorts. Mr. Pierce turned a page. Secondly, the Educational Trust for Ryan and Laya. Mr. Hale is the sole guardian of those funds. He alone decides how and when they're used. Ryan fist-pumped. "Dad's the boss." Laya giggled. The table exhaled, half shock, half delight. Jade stood so fast her chair screeched. "This isn't over." "It is, legally," Mr. Pierce said, calm as rain. "You're welcome to retain counsel and attempt to contest Jonathan's planning. I would not recommend it." The dessert course arrived to the quietest room in history. If you want the origin story, it's simple. Months of tiny humiliations, one overheard call, and a lawyer who knew Jonathan better than anyone. Mr. Pierce had walked me through everything. The trust on the house, the guardrails Jonathan installed because he knew his daughters, one kind, one controlling, and now the kids' fund, tucked where grabby hands couldn't reach. He didn't just protect assets. He protected intent. Clara didn't look at me the rest of the night. Jade sat between my kids like she owned the air and vibrated with rage. I watched Ryan's eyes flick from me to the lawyer to Jade, connecting things. For the first time in a long while, he saw me not as the punchline, but as a chess player with a plan. When coffee poured, Mr. Pierce closed the folder. "One final note," he said. "Jonathan also requested that any significant changes to household residency or guardianship be made jointly by Marcus and Clara after consultation with me. In other words, no surprises." Translation: no one is kicking me out of the house I maintain and tuck kids into at night. Jade grabbed her clutch and stormed to the foyer. She couldn't slam the door. Someone else's hinges, someone else's rules, so she settled for the loudest click possible. Conversations resumed in hushed tones, the way they do after a thunderclap. Ryan leaned across 2 chairs and mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded. Laya gave me a tiny thumbs up. Later, when the last candle guttered and the caterers had vanished like stagehands, Clara stood at the sink staring at nothing. We'd been roommates for a while, but this was the first time the label fit cleanly. "You went to Donovan without telling me," she said. "I went after your sister planned a ceremony to make me smaller," I said. Jonathan planned for this moment. "He knew me, he knew you, he knew Jade." Silence. Then quieter. "I didn't want to hurt you. You outsourced the job." She swallowed, set down the glass, and left the room. I checked on the kids, Ryan asleep face down in a textbook, Laya sprawled like a starfish, and stood in the doorway a long time. The house creaked, old timber speaking. Jonathan had built things for a living. "Smarter men protect what they build," the lawyer had said. And here we were. A week later, Jade tried for round 2. Texts to relatives about misinformation, a flurry of emergency meetings, and one exquisitely dramatic attempt to rally the troops on Facebook. It fizzled. Facts are stubborn, so are notarized signatures. Clara and I started counseling. Maybe we'll find our way back. Maybe we'll learn to part with something like grace. Either way, the kids' futures are safe, the house is steady, and the man who used to fold towels wrong knows where every document lives. As for the moment itself, the one that started with "sit somewhere else," I replay it sometimes, right before sleep. The room quiet. The folder opening. The look on Jade's face when the law didn't bend to her voice. If you're wondering, I still grill. Burgers come off with a little char and a lot of pride. Ryan calls them dad crust. Laya says they taste like victory. I'll take it. And when the next family dinner comes around and Jade gestures anywhere but the seat by my kids, I'll smile, slide my chair where I please, and ask Mr. Pierce if he'd like another roll. After all, I've always enjoyed his company more than hers.